Hello again, and here we have another new face, and you may have recognised Aideen from one of the sessions that we had recently. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to come with us again for the last two, I think it was, because Aideen lives in America. She lives in a place that's got lots and lots and lots of snow at the moment. But she's also there working, and Aideen works with the voice and the energy of the voice. So without further ado, Aideen, how did you get started with that?
Well, it's an interesting story. I guess I always liked using my voice as a child. I used to yell at a friend outside, out of the car window and be like, hey, da da da. My dad would be like, what is she doing? So I guess my voice was already slightly, it was developing when I was younger. When I was in my primary school, the teacher pointed me out during the singing part of the class and said, look how wide Aideen opens her mouth when she sings, right? So I had some natural tendency towards allowing my voice out and certainly loved singing. And um, I wanted to do acting when I left secondary school, and that didn't quite happen. I went and studied psychology instead, which to me was almost as interesting. I think acting and psychology have a lot in common. And I went and did my degree, and then I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I did all these odd jobs. And in the back of my mind, I thought maybe I would do singing someday. And I even studied languages in college because I thought, well, for classical singing, you need your languages. And I took like singing lessons and I did all of that. But it was always a very, it was like get started and then stop. It was one of these dreams that I had that I felt I couldn't really achieve. And over time, I started to pursue it a little bit more and more until one day I had the divine inspiration to start doing workshops for adults and teaching singing for fun. And that happened in about the end of 2015. And so I started my business in 2016.
That's good. So when did you get, because I happen to know that you do a lot of mantra work, when did you get into the mantras?
So the mantras I had started before that, before I started my business, I think it was 2011. And I had a big interest in the mind. I think spirituality and the mind, there's a bit of crossover there. When I was doing psychology, I was really interested in like trying to figure out what way did I think, and why do things happen this way, and what was I blocking myself with. But it wasn't until I started doing as more of a spiritual practice that I started to have more success in my life. No matter how I tried to get my brain to be in alignment with my goals, my energy, my soul needed to find that alignment as well. And working on mantras and using the voice to create divine kind of prayer in a way was a key point for me. And it also was a changing point where I started to have friends that I could really rely on. So the group that I did my mantras with were very good people, and they weren't telling me always what I wanted to hear, but they were very kind and very good to me and very consistent. So it started to make me feel more grounded, and that sense of grounding and that sense of connection to the divine was why, when that inspiration came in, do a singing workshop for adults, not only did I recognize it wasn't my own inspiration, like I didn't come up with it myself, because in reality, my reaction was, "What? I don't want to do that." My mother's the teacher in the family. She taught uh, guitar, and I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "But hang on, it's coming in." So there was kind of this understanding now that there could be something to that inspiration. And I said, right, here's what I'll do. I'll test the idea out. And I think that's the key to following any form of inspiration, is not deciding, oh, like I'm changing my whole life, but test out the idea and, take some small steps in that direction. And we can be very surprised at how magical life can be when we trust our intuition and our instincts.
Oh yeah, because in Spiritus, inspiration, taking the spirit inside. It's quite an interesting concept when you think about the kind of thing that you're talking about. And also breathing and the idea and the vocalization, the tonality is
Mm.
very important as well because it's all about the vibration, is it not?
Absolutely. And I think it really helped me build up physical strength in my body after a time when I felt very weak. My solar plexus energy was very weak because I had tried this and I tried that and nothing was really working. So I had no faith in myself. And sitting in a chair, we often did our mantras in a chair and we would do clapping as well. I think that the clapping, I don't do a lot of clapping on Zoom because I think they'll probably be a little bit too intense when I'm doing teaching on Zoom. But when I was in a classroom and we did the clapping, it just felt like energy was coming into my body. And the vibrations of these, sacred sounds, they move through the room and they go into your bones, they go into the cells of your body, and they actually create an energy around you. And what happens, the first thing I noticed was that things didn't feel like they were on top of me in the way they were before. There was a gap, there was a little bit of space. And I think that the vibration of the mantras helped me create that space around me that allowed me then to develop a relationship with myself and with my spirit, and to to take positive little steps in the right directions and not feel like, oh, I'm just kind of putting out fires all the time, because life is like that for most people. It's like, oh, this and oh, that and oh, the other, and we never step back because it's all on top of us. And for me, mantra created space to allow me to see things more clearly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that we as a modern society tend to forget spirit because there's too many different connotations of religiosity that go along with it and this kind of idea that it has to be a certain way. When actually we are spirit, the soul is spirit, and we all have one of those. We all have
Definitely.
spirit. We all have, we're an energetic being inside a mobile makeshift in a way, Hobson's choice, Keith Robinson's little, car, a vehicle that we're kind of trying to learn to drive as we go along. I think that one of the things that is really important is that we understand that we're not just a mind and a body. There is a soul, there is a spirit as well. And a lot of the times when this is forgotten, it's why we feel lost,
Mm.
why we forget that we actually have more power than we realize we have. We forgot to remember.
Yeah, and
So
more
I think that
connection as well. I think
yes,
focusing
yes,
on just mind and body makes us feel very separate from others.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I usually you probably have heard me say it at one point, or you will in the future, but you're going to hear it now anyway. Is that when a surgeon can go out and they deal in the body, they deal in the mechanics and how this works, and they're not really interested, in the spiritual side or the emotional side. And they will come out of a theatre and they will say the operation was a complete success. Unfortunately, the patient died because they weren't completely in connection and understanding, and there was some fear there, or there was an idea that beforehand that this was going to happen. And I think it's Gabor Mate has a book out, When the Body Says No, and he's a physiologist, and
Mm.
he describes how we are actually more in charge of our bodies than we realize. But also, the thing is, the voice is the carrier of the energy, isn't it?
It's interesting you talk about a surgeon because my husband had a serious emergency heart surgery, and the surgeon came out, and what was said to me on the car on the way there was that there was a 5%, survival or whatever. What this surgeon said to me, he said it's 95%. This guy had angels on his side. I'm getting very emotional now. But, when someone speaks into you
Mhm.
a positive thing, that was not, he wasn't just thinking of the body now in that moment. And I think that there's a lot of people work in medicine that have a lot deeper, there are a lot of
Yes,
people
yes.
that are very, they see it in many different ways. But that was his voice speaking into me something very positive that helped me have faith in that situation. And my husband was in God's hands at that moment. That's how I felt.
Mm.
And I think that we have a lot more resources. Like I was ringing my mantra teacher, I was ringing all these different people before the surgery, and I felt that a spirit around us, you know, that the energy of the well wishes, like even if you
Uh-huh.
don't like the word, you know, prayer or, you know, any of those things, when someone wishes us well and when we let them know we're going through something, I believe that those well wishes surround us, and
Oh yeah.
they actually create that cushion around us then that helps us get through things that are difficult.
We don't realize that what we ingest psychologically is actually what manifests.
Mm.
It's what we have to have a diet. For me, we have to have a diet that is nutritionally valid psychologically as well as spiritually and physically.
Yeah.
You're being told to eat to keep the machine going well. But what do you ingest that makes the mind go well, that makes the spirit go well? And a lot of that, and how do you express it?
Yeah.
And it's the energy of the expression, which is coming back to what you are doing with people, is allowing them to understand the difference in expression.
Yeah. For me, it's about that connection with joy again. You know, when we use our voices, and a lot of people have this wish to be able to sing or something, or let their voice out, or they may hear a song and they just would love to let the voice move through their body. And really, what when the breath is moving, the breath isn't what's moving through the body. The breath is what's vibrating and creating the sound. And physical alignment and physical, you know, kind of connection with our own physical form is the foundation for the voice. So anyone who is interested in expressing through the voice, or wants to learn to sing, or wants to mantra, that process of doing that actually makes you more grounded in your physical body, and helps connect you then to that spirit within you, that energy of the breath, and that energy of your emotions and your joy. So for me, it's a very holistic
Mm.
process. And for quite a while, I called myself a holistic voice coach. I call myself more of an intuitive voice coach now, because that side of the way that I work has become stronger and stronger. But it's really about that feeling of being whole and expressing who you are from your heart in a way that isn't that you're not second guessing yourself too much.
And it's understanding that you do have control over that. And by
Yeah, it's a skill.
practicing,
Yeah,
yeah, and by practicing, you can actually set your day up to be better than it would be otherwise.
yeah, yeah.
It's This is the whole concept of mindfulness, really. It's being fully aware of how your mind is able to change your life.
But the only way to start that is with something small.
Yes.
And I feel like, you know, that a lot of people say we're recording this very close to the new year. And for me, people will set up themselves for failure by trying to digest a big chunk instead of a small bite. And I love the idea of getting people to hum more. So
Hmm.
if you don't normally sing and you don't know if you can sing, but you'd like to try it, if you are listening to music, hum along to the melody, even if it's incorrect, hum along. That's creating that vibration, it's creating that connection with your body. And that's your simple access point to one little step toward you using your voice more and enjoying your own sound, because everybody's voice has value and everybody's voice matters. It doesn't always matter in the situation that we think it should. Maybe your mom doesn't listen to you, or your partner doesn't get something about you, but there's always someone out there that does get you, you know. And I believe that our communities and our hobbies and the little tribes of people, like, you know, that are interested in what we are interested in, those are people are as important as our immediate circle, because the immediate circle isn't necessarily going to provide us everything that we
Oh
need.
no. No, no. There's the blood family and the milk line. And the milk line can be far wide and absolutely diverse in such a way that the blood family can't always understand what's going on with it. And that is sometimes when we get shy about talking about things, I think. So who's your client? Who comes to you? What are they dealing with?
Well, my brother was said to me, Aideen, I didn't know you were a therapist, right? Because I was on the TV in Ireland, and the clients that came all said something like, I had thyroid cancer and therefore I wanted to get my voice back. My husband died of suicide and I couldn't, enjoy life. So I wanted to do singing. I had this issue, I had that. So it was like people were attracted to me that had been through something, or they had come to a phase of their life where they really wanted to embrace life again, and to let go of some of the things that were blocking them from speaking up or standing out in a way. So my clients, some of them are purely interested in singing, but then a lot of them have an interest in the spirit as well, or mantras. So I have a lot of scope depending on who comes to me, what I'm able to offer. And the key thing that I really believe I do offer is a safe space and a real 100%, 1 trillion% belief that each person who comes in front of me is important and they have value, and that if they understood more of how precious they are and what a treasure their voice can be, that they will change things gently in their lives that allow them to express themselves and enjoy life more, and to be more of a positive effect on everyone, and maybe even inspire other people to take up something that they want to take up. So I'm very excited by the little domino effect that can
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. It is interesting that I think the flow is interesting when it comes that way because it's when other people see it, notice it, and ask questions. And curiosity is one of the best things to use in that department to have. And even although, sometimes there's a curious thing, that curiosity is also something that perhaps has to be bridled a little bit because you don't want to stick your fingers in the light socket too much. Once done is enough usually. But it's one of those things that when it comes to how the human being can be more human, more humane, and understand things, we have to understand ourselves first. And I think that one of the best ways to do it is to actually open your voice and sing like you don't care. The old Celtic thing. I have a friend, shaman friend, who says everyone can sing. Everyone has a voice and they can sing. And even those who are dumb have a voice in their heads. They have a will to express, and they can probably intuit a song, a tune, so just a vocalization of some energy inside their own heads. And how they express it will be how they usually express a vocal thing. But what he says is it doesn't matter if you stink.
Yeah.
It's still the expression of the song. It's the release of the voice. And I thought that's wonderful. The release of the voice.
Yeah, like it's trapped or something in there and then it gets
Yeah.
let go.
I think it's so many, I think also when it comes down to manifesting different illnesses, diseases in the body, when people say, oh, I've swallowed that for too long,
Yep.
where's your problem? Oh, I've got terrible guts.
Mm.
Really? I wonder what would happen if you stopped swallowing things, you know, and allowing it, instead of swallowing it, actually bring it back out again. And I think that what you do is important for that because it gives people the understanding that the voice is a two-way thing.
Yeah.
It can talk us into things and it can talk us out of things as
Yeah,
well.
that the inner voice is there in the background, and that needs to relax a little sometimes. But when you get into it, so what I love to do is get someone into the practice of something rather than the thinking about the practice. Although if we think in the right way and you listen kind of process in the right way, it speeds things up. But jumping in, and I would do a lot of primal sounds with people. So it'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah. That one is a great one for
Yeah.
unlocking the child inside us. And then woo and meow sounds, meow, meow, meow. And you'd feel the larynx moving. And through kind of playful, joyful sounds, you can take a step into it. And it's the journey that's the important thing. And I think for me, it's not about getting up on a stage. A lot of people think of, oh, a voice coach, or that means I'm going to do a speech or I'm going to stand up on a stage. For me, it's the important is thing is the relationship that I have with the client, that we have this fun together and we explore what it is that goes on in their mind that blocks them from speaking, and they start to realize that their voice is good, or that it's okay, or that it's adequate, which is enough. And we all are challenged then to find balance in communication, like to set a boundary. The voice is a good boundary setter, but sometimes we need to find that balance of kindness with the boundary. And honestly, I think most people will figure those things out by doing it more than
Yeah.
thinking about it. So we have to be willing to make a mistake or two in our communication, and then we refine it as we go along.
I think that's it. Everybody thinks that, well, not everybody. Angela would slap me for that sweeping generalization. But it's a case of many people are under the impression that everything has to be seen to be perfect, whether or not they're squirreling away their chaos and hiding it behind them and trying to stick it in cupboards, and the cupboards doors are bulging open. Everything has to be seen to be perfect, like on your Instagram or your Facebook or your other social medias are available. And basically, it's a case of overthinking and therefore not having any fun. And that word that you said is really, really important because laughter and joy are such stress busters.
Hmm.
And how you get to the laughter and the joy is sometimes, going along to, I don't know, sing along Moana or something like that with your kids. And even if you don't have kids, why not?
Yeah, and the new Matilda musical is out at the moment on streaming, so watch that. That was fun.
I
Yeah,
think
we
it's,
we need that fun. We need that. We need to be lighter.
yeah,
And perfection, I mean, it's why would we need that? We don't actually. It's far better connection, not perfection. That's my phrase, connection, not perfection. Because if we're singing a song, the most perfect opera singer can sing a song with perfect pitch and all of that, and we can feel nothing. And
yeah.
then someone like Bob Dylan gets up in his croaky voice and he talks, about social issues, and we feel that connection. So, which would you prefer, perfection or connection? I think that connection is has more value in the long run.
I think sometimes perfection, like particularly the opera singers, they're doing that because it's their job. It might be their passion, but doing that like twice a night and three, on once on a Sunday is a kind of, wow. They have to take such good care of it. It becomes their whole persona. It becomes their whole reason for being. And the soul of it becomes crushed in
It
a
can
way.
be. And it depends on the dynamic. Well, like, the director or the other people on the stage with you. And I think that we need space to express what's in our hearts. And the best opera singers, Pavarotti and all of those, Andrea Bocelli, they are bringing more than just those notes. They're
Yes.
bringing their heart and soul to it as well.
But you see with Bocelli as well, he's introducing his family, so they say on the television adverts at the moment,
Yeah.
in doing all this. And you can see that it's part of it, it's part of how he is, but it's not the be all and end all. And he will it, what I'm getting at is that to sing just for the fact of it, just these words that way for someone else directing you for something, it's not giving of yourself to a
Hmm.
certain extent, but to sing for just sheer joy and for yourself, that's a whole different song.
Definitely. Definitely. And I often encourage, clients and students to start writing songs,
Mm.
because that's where you get that, what is it that your heart wants to say, or what is it you want to talk about? And choosing a song that feels that you connect to is very important. People always say, "Oh, Aideen, pick a song for me." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't like to do that," because for me, it's about the communication and the connection to the song, and it needs to be something that you choose, even if it's a little difficult for you at the time. Normally, I'd ask people to pick two or three, and then we start with the easiest. But that's like, I will be very instinctive in terms of what songs I decide to sing and put out. And I'm working on one at the moment that was a Eurovision winner. My granny passed away on the day that Ireland won this Eurovision Song Contest, and it was a very traumatic time for my cousins because they happened to be with her and were in the car with her when she was struggling to breathe and all of that. And so I'm just, I want to just do a version of that, you know. So
Mm.
the reasoning behind why you pick a song and the energy you put into each word matters in the song. Then you've got that connection. That's very mindful singing then. So you're not just singing as if you're like listening to the recording. It's like it's coming out of you. And that
Mm.
is very beautiful to listen to. And it's very beautiful to be in that yourself. You don't need anybody to listen to that.
It's quite healing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that when you're, I suppose that the physiologist would say, well, your breathing's changed and that's why you feel better. However, when you belt out a song in the kitchen or the bedroom or with a hairbrush in your hand when you were 12 or something like that, it's a case of there's a lot there that you're giving that you possibly won't see when you're an adult because you're restricted by things that you've restricted yourself with and you've allowed others to put that tight coat on and you're kind of bursting out of it at the seams, but you want to really get this out. And we kind of strangle our inner children that way
Yeah.
by not, by keeping this coat buttoned up because, oh, you're too old to do that now. Actually, you're never too old to have fun.
No, and it's such it's about release. When we spoke about dis-ease and how, what are we swallowing? What's creating illness within us? Well, when we move, it creates it unblocks. When we create sound, it unblocks. When we like speak our truth, it unblocks the things. So it is a form of self-care, it is a form of healing, and it is a form of allowing you to let go of the stuff on top of you, so that that inner child within each of us is our truest self. Almost, it's a slightly innocent part of ourselves that sometimes needs protecting, but it's so pure of heart. Its intention is so good, and it's so just wants to it knows its value. That inner child kind of would be like, why would you not want to hear me? Now, not everybody experienced that as a child in their own childhood, but
Mm.
that inner child within us has an innate kind of an innate feeling of, it's me. I love that song, "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman. People love that song
Yeah.
because it's like, this is me, and
Yeah.
it's to be able to say that or sing that is a very freeing thing, because we're, like you say, we're buttoning things in, we're holding back. And for me, the more people allow themselves to be themselves and live a little, love a lot, and joy, and find joy in life, then we've got the ingredients of a better life for all of us, and a lot more fun.
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, I do tend to sing songs from musicals, but with my own words because I manifest things with them. So I will change the words to My Fair Lady, all I want is a room somewhere. So it'll be somewhere like all I want is a room somewhere uh in France, you know, with lots of food to spare. Kind of thing,
Beautiful.
you know? And it sort of goes like that. And it sometimes catches me by surprise because I'll start doing it when I'm not thinking properly about things. And it catches me and I just keep going with it. But it kind of sets me up for the day if you feel a little bit daft if somebody catches you. But my husband's used to that now, so it doesn't really matter, and the dog doesn't care, so
Yeah, and it's your voice. Use it, and sometimes if we are listening to songs on repeat and they have very sad lyrics, that can hold us in an energy field as well. So creating your own lyrics and noticing, oh, I want to go to France.
mm,
I want to have the abundance when I go there. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you'll be the cook, and that way the food will be all there. But there's so many ways for our dreams to come true. But we need to notice what those dreams are in order to take a step or two in that direction. And a lot of us don't actually acknowledge that they want the room in France with the food to spare. And singing it embeds energy into our bodies and helps
yeah,
us to
yeah,
believe that things are possible.
yeah. And I think that, these kiddies musicals, I've been taking time over the Christmas time to actually look at these things and see these. What is all the fuss about these things? Why should somebody sing about letting it go? And which drove me mad when it first came out. 'Cause everybody keeps like, let it go. I was like, what is going on with this? Let it go. What, because I don't have children. So, I don't really have an excuse to watch them, but I don't need an excuse because basically I'm just curious. And I want to see what is being fed into the psyche of children
Yeah.
and their parents when they take them to the shows.
Hmm.
And some of these songs are really inspirational. They're
Yeah.
really, really forward thinking. And I'm looking forward to seeing the effect of that coming through.
Yeah.
But what I'd really like to ask you is when you have your client, what is your favorite thing to see happening with your client and for your client during the session, perhaps?
Hmm. During the sessions, sometimes you'll just see that shift, where they start to understand or to hear change, or sometimes it's about understanding why they're holding themselves back. They might be like, "Oh yeah, that thing happened." So I love those moments of realization. But to me, it's often how that person takes that into their own life that becomes where I get surprised. So one of my students from a few years ago was in the church choir and then started recording herself singing a song in the church and putting it up onto Facebook. And then, had a friend who recorded the song properly and did a little music video. And these are just for family and friends. And that's so inspirational, like for me to see that person. And then they actually were in the local pub, and her husband said, wouldn't it be lovely to have a session in the pub? So between the two of them, suddenly there was a community event that started to happen. So I think that magical things are possible, and we all need to step into understanding that we're good enough,
Hmm.
and that that feeling of, oh, I wonder if, that curiosity, it can be worth taking a step or two toward, and who knows what magic can happen. And I just feel very honored to be part of someone's journey in that way. And I really believe that we all have a lot to offer, a little bit, probably a lot more than we realize.
So, how do people get in touch with you, Aideen?
Well, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, places like that. But probably the easiest thing is to go to my website, confidenceinsinging.com, and you can book a free consultation there. And I'd love to just chat and see how I could be of service. And I love meeting people that way, and it's a way for me to get the word out that what I do. So don't be shy, book a time, and or give me a shout and send me a message. I'd love to get into that conversation. And I would applaud anyone who's trying to take steps to do something different, because it takes courage. So I applaud everybody out there for whatever their next step is. If it might be taking up crochet for some people, or joining the book club, but I really encourage everyone to step into one little step closer to what your heart is guiding you to do.
So if you want to find out more about mantras, about singing, about using your voice as a tool for change and increasing your confidence, go to the website and even sign up for one of the workshops that I'm sure Aideen is going to be doing on Zoom as well as in person.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Aideen, for our little chat, and I will see you soon on TIC. And all Aideen's details will be in the description on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thanks.